So this is the Giant African Land Snail, and as you can tell from their name, they come from Africa. But these guys are actually an invasive species, so they are going into countries they don't belong in. So this one in particular has entered Florida recently. So he can cause a lot of trouble because they are voracious eaters, so they will eat pretty much anything they come across. So they'll eat all the crops, and then because these guys build their own shells, they need calcium to build it. And in a city, the easiest source of calcium is actually concrete and stucco housing. So they will eat the floor in the house, the ground in the house, and for some reason they actually also eat through tires, although there's not really any nutrition in that. So this is actually not even a full-grown one. When he's done, he will be the exact size of this hand. So as you can tell by looking at this guy, he doesn't have any legs, which makes him not an insect, but actually a gastropod. But we still have him on display here for our invasive species purposes. And they're actually called a hermaphrodite. So this is neither a male nor a female, it's actually both. And as far as invasives go, that makes them really dangerous because you only need two. Both of them can mate and lay eggs, and from what I've observed here, they will lay about 200 eggs every month, and every month those eggs hatch, and within 6 months those babies are full-grown adults able to mate themselves. So these guys have a little rasping tongue under here that they will use to slide over their food and eat, and because they are so membranous and soft, when they're on a hand like this, you need to be cautious of what's on your hand. So anybody with pesticides or a bug spray, sunscreen, hand cream has to wash their hands before they can handle him because you might poison him. How they're actually able to eat concrete is they have a very mild acid in their slime, so it actually just dissolves it. And what people in England have found is that that mild acid is actually a really good spa treatment. So you can pay a lot of money to have this guy crawl in your face in England. So these guys got to Florida because of the exotic pet trade. So a lot of people don't actually realize that this is one of the top 10 invasive species in the world. And they bring them in as pets for their kids, and then they just toss them out when they're done because they grow a lot larger than they ever want. The Florida climate is actually suited to them, so they can take over and just expand quite quickly. So we actually have these guys here as part of our exhibit to help teach about invasive species, to create awareness for it. And we actually have this as part of our curriculum-based school programming. These guys can live up to be 11 years old, and they do something called estivation, which is like hibernation. It's a rest period, but instead of it being when it's too cold, when it gets too hot or dry, these guys will bury themselves underground. They will use the calcium to secrete a saliva that hardens when it touches the outside and seal themselves off in their shell. And they can stay that way for up to 3 years until the climate is suitable for them again, and then they'll all emerge and continue on where they left off. So these guys have a defense of hiding when they are disturbed. So if you touch them in the face, they will tuck in, pull their eye stalks back in, and eventually they will pull themselves completely into their shell to protect themselves if needed. Yeah, a little pulp. So this edge here is actually where they build their shell. You can see it's a slightly lighter color, and when we're picking them up, you just have to be very cautious not to touch there because you will actually push it in and crack the shell a bit because it's actually that soft. So that is the Giant African Land Snail. Tune in next time for more of our buggy surprises.